Hey folks, David here with Tomb Runner's update on this was the design diary 13, 14, somewhere in that range. A couple days off here, got a lot done. Kind of in a holding pattern now, waiting for some things. The Dungeons Masters deck prototype is still in transit. It should have been delivered now 2 weeks ago, and the tracking says delivered to local carrier. This is coming from overseas. um, that's where I got a proof printed overseas, but the final product will be printed here in Orlando. But they don't do one-off prototypes, so they only do large bulk orders. So I get my prototypes printed overseas to see the artwork and all that, and have a prototype and working proof to use for crowdfunding and to show people. But as soon as I get that, I'll be showing it off here. As I keep saying, I'm hoping this package isn't lost in transit because it takes a while to get it printed and shipped and clear customs and everything since it comes from overseas. So, but update, cool couple of cool things I've done to the game lately that I have not yet covered on here. The last video we talked about the changes to healing, and the further play testing on that has proven to be very fruitful. It's a tuned a lot better for what I want for both the roguelike and long term play. Harm matters more. It's more, you know, the game gives you enough power as a player to avoid harm enough with stress and resist and armor and everything, that when you do get hit, it needs to matter more than it did with the old healing and the new healing system where you can only heal, equal to tier instead of tier D6. It's effectively cutting the healing down to about a third on average and up to as much as a sixth, um, a 5/6 reduction of healing potentially. So that's helped a lot. And on the other side of that, you don't heal stress during adventuring. You only heal stress in downtime, and you heal all stress automatically in downtime instead of having to split your healing between HP and SP. Um, it's just balanced the game closer to what was originally intended. As I designed some of the feats and started piecing together some of these and seeing them in play, there were definitely some broken combos with the old healing system that just let you negate the dual resource mechanic, um, the resource scarcity I wanted it to engender. So I keep using the phrase that characters will burn bright but die fast. And with the old healing system, they weren't dying fast. They were pretty survivable. Anyways, the new stuff I've added, I started working on the character randomization for character creation instead of, or if you want to do a funnel, or if you're doing roguelike mode and you need to roll characters up quickly, I wanted to be able to do that with a simple couple of dice rolls. So now I've added 2 more heritages. There were 4, now there's 6. So there's an easy D6 roll for what your heritage is. And then there are 10 jobs. There have always been 10. So that's an easy 1D10 roll. And then there are, I believe, 48, 49. I think we're right at about 50 feats. So you could do a D100, and just, split it in half if you roll over 50, or more likely what I'm going to do is have people roll on each column of feats. And there's not 10 in each, but it averages out about 8 to 10 columns or feats per column, and the columns are divvied up by archetypes. So you have all the warrior type feats in one column, all the cleric feats, rogue, magician, and then druid, ranger, bard, monk are all on 2 columns, basically split over 2 columns instead of a column each. So those you get a little more granular and a little more hybrid. But you can always, since you're only rolling up 3, it's easy to randomize the first parts of your character, the heritage, job, and then pick feats that fit those. Same with your starting items. But if you want to fully randomize it, you'll be able to do that. So what I did is I added 2 more heritages that flesh out your options for character creation in 2 new ways that previously nothing interacted with. And I'll go over that. So first off, to touch on the other heritages that have always been around, you've got Hardy, which gives +3 max HP. That's your tanky. Traditionally, like a dwarf or something would have that kind of a heritage bonus. Lucky, which is +1 luck, gain during downtime, so you just get an extra reroll every adventure phase. Venerable, which added 2 SP, so you have more resource to spend on spellcasting and stuff like that, or feats or resist rolls, or pushing or assisting. And then adaptable, which is traditionally the human feat, where you get +1. You get +1 feat at character creation. So instead of 3, you get 4, which is really powerful for spellcasters because they are often spending. Spellcasting feats are 2. So if you are adaptable, then effectively it makes spellcasting feats cost 1. So the 2 new ones are, we'll start with Martial, which lets you add your level to all harm rolls. So if you're level 2, all your harm rolls will add +2 damage. So very straightforward, but very powerful, potent, and it scales naturally. If you're level 10, you're doing +10 damage compared to going from level 9 to level 10. You're only adding +1d6 for like a tier 10 weapon compared to a tier 9 weapon. But adding a flat +10, once you get past level 6 on items and abilities, then suddenly that's scaling higher, whether it's spellcasting or combat, melee, or physical or spellcasting. That harm roll gets your level added to it at all levels. It's also really powerful at level 1 because there's a lot of ways to do things like spellcasting for very low stress. So you can just be firing off 1d6 +1 harm every round in spells if you take the Martial. And then the other one, which is really fun, I really love this heritage ability bonus. It's the Eternal Heritage. You're from a race, a species that, traditionally, like the elves being near immortal in a lot of fantasy settings, that type of thing. So the eternal heritage grants you advantage on your death clock rolls. So anytime you go down, you roll 1d6, and that's your death clock. That's your timer until your character dies permanently if they're not healed by an ally. So you get advantage on that. So normally it's just whatever you roll. You could have 1 round or one clock tick until you're dead, or 6, but having advantage on that roll means you are going to a lot more often be okay and survive long enough to be healed in that situation where you go down. It's also got a lot of flavor built in. I keep talking about this Death Knight concept, or like a Shadow Knight character concept, where you're like a necromancer but heavily armored knight and necromancy combined, and it just really fits well with that. Where you're like, you're just kind of an unkillable, unstoppable, creation. So that's the 2 new heritages, and then 2 new feats. So I previously had the warrior-inspired feats, the cleric, paladin, hybrid protector feats, the roguish, all the spellcasting, the ranger, the druid, and the bard. And what we're missing there from the most common class and archetypes is the monk. And I kept just struggling to figure out how to do a monk in this system in a satisfying way. And when I came across, when I was making the new heritage system, the new heritage that uses your level, adding your level to harm rolls, that had ripple effects on some of the feat design. So I went and changed. Well, first I'll touch on the cleric feat that increases healing. That changed. Now bless adds your level to healing. So it's the only way to make healing better is to take the bless feat. So now your healing items add your level. So instead of a flat tier, it's your tier plus or it's the tier of the item or spell plus your level for healing on allies. It's not on yourself, on allies. So a tier 1 healing spell now adds your current level. So if you're level 1, casting a tier 1, that heals for 2, which is really strong. A reliable increase on healing is really strong. So I started thinking about other ways to use that level bonus, and that gave me the natural idea of monks having feats for a bonus on unarmed attacks and unarmored defense based on their level. So now your fist, if you take the what did I call it? You have Way of the Tiger and Way of the Ox. Those are the 2 monk specific feats. So Way of the Tiger is your unarmed attacks deal damage or are tier equal to your level. So you're instead of having to have items that are tier, 1, tier 2, whatever to do increased damage as your character levels up. If you take that feat, then you are just always your fists are always equal to that tier, and they have no wear. If you get hurt, that's the wear on your fist basically. And then same with the way of the ox is you have if you're unarmored, if you're not wearing armor, then you have armor equal to your level, and the wear on that would recharge with downtime. It'll have natural wear. So if you have way of the ox, that you can't have unlimited uses of that. That would be way too powerful in this system. But you would have if you're level 2, then you have tier 2 armor even without equipping any, and that would have 2 wear that recharges with downtime. That sounds like not much. You have 2 uses of it, just the same as anybody else can if they just equip armor without spending a feat. But you have to consider these items aren't taking up slots. So the fists, the way of the tiger, you don't have any items, weapons in your hands that are taking up your very limited inventory space. And then with the armor one, there's no cost to repair that. It just recharges. Everybody else is spending supply to repair their armor, and yours just recharges naturally. So that system of using your level as tier for the monk abilities for damage and for defense, just it clicked perfectly for me. I think that's a really it's a really clean way to do what monks want to do. And then for the rest of the monk build, you can fill it in with some of the warrior or the thief rogue type feats where you can, let's see, a good one is slippery, where you get advantage on agility resist rolls. So if you want to jump out of the way of harm, you're dodging around a lot because you're a monk, you're unarmored, you're very lithe and nimble. Then you could take slippery. You could take where's the one for daredevil? You could spend 2 stress to accomplish a great feat of dexterity without an action roll. You just automatically succeed if you spend the stress. That could be like the monk runs up a flat wall, almost Spider-Man like, some kind of crazy physical act that does, defies physics. And then you have some of the warrior ones where you could take, let's see, relentless, where you spend stress to heal. That fits really well with the monk archetype where, they are channeling this unseen energy source to replenish their body. That fits perfectly. And that's also a great one for, a warrior archetype like a barbarian or something. So that's the monk archetype, some of the feats that would lead into that. And then you also have things, you could also dip into the mage side where you have, let's see, there's battle mage where you get an advantage on spell casting and melee combat. So if you wanted to have a monk with a little bit of magic power, then that fits perfectly because you're jumping in there, you're, using your fist, and then you're blasting off a spell. You have arcane armor where you get resist rolls on magic, advantage on resist rolls against magic. And then you could even have like a reflect build where you can mark wear on your shield. If you're a monk with a shield, you want to be more protector roll, and then you can reflect that spell back on its caster. If you mark wear and use your shield, instead of reducing harm, that feat lets you reflect the spell effect. So there's a lot of fun ways to build like an evasion tank or a really slippery melee fighter monk. There's a lot of different flavor right there. And all it took was those 2 feats to unlock the concept of monks just use their level as their tier for their weapon and their armor, and even if they don't have a weapon or armor. And I think that just fits the flavor of the monk really well. Let's see, is there anything else for Tomb Runners? I think we'll probably wrap it up here shortly. We've got a lot of the Kickstarter and crowdfunding layout work done. I'll show you here. It's looking really good. It's coming together. The layout is coming together really well. Really happy with a lot of this. These numbers are not final, by the way. Of course, that's all pending on final quotes for everything. But I think this layout is looking great. Going to get some more photos of the real book and everything. As soon as the deck comes in, I'm going to do the photo shoot for the book, for the physical book, to show people like, hey, this exists. This is not all renderings. This is all real stuff. And then do the video. Got to work on the video. I'm going to get a voice actor. I got to find someone that's got the tone I'm looking for. Something not unlike Darkest Dungeon. Some husky, something that just fits that genre really well. And get some motion graphics done with some of the commissioned artwork here. Not where it's like animated, nothing weird AI junk, but like, just parallax zooms and stuff like that, showing off some of the artwork with some quotes and stuff like that. It's going to be, just a 1 minute video, just something that'll look really good on Kickstarter homepage, on the page for it, and for social media and stuff like that. So we are looking at mid-July launch date for Kickstarter.